Listen closely, by brave warrior. Around 90 AD, in a small teaching room outside Rome, a Roman senator sat on a wooden bench to listen to a man who had once been a slave. That man's name was Epictetus. As a young man in bondage, his leg had been broken, some accounts say by his own master, who twisted it slowly, almost as an experiment, testing how far the bone could bend before it snapped. And in that moment, as the pain became unbearable, Epictetus is said to have looked at the man breaking his leg and told him calmly, almost gently, "You are going to break it." No scream, no plea, no rage, just a quiet, almost clinical observation. And when the bone finally gave way, he said nothing at all. He simply nodded, as if his own body had confirmed something he already knew was coming. That leg never healed properly. Epictetus limped for the rest of his life. And yet decades later, free from slavery, he became one of the most influential philosophers in the history of the Western world. A man so mentally unshakable that Roman emperors would travel to sit at his feet and take notes like students. Here is the question that should be bothering you right now. How does a man who was enslaved, tortured, and permanently disabled end up more at peace than almost anyone you have ever met? While you, free, fed, safe, holding a device in your pocket that contains more knowledge than every library in ancient Rome combined, spend your nights lying awake, replaying a comment someone made about you 3 days ago? That is not a coincidence. That is not bad luck. That is a difference in training. Somewhere between his shattered leg and his final years teaching in a quiet Greek town, Epictetus learnt something that most people alive today will never learn: how to stop fighting reality and start loving it. Let's be honest about what your life actually looks like right now. You check your phone before your feet touch the floor in the morning. You compare your unfinished, behind-the-scenes life to everyone else's highlight reel before you've even had coffee. You carry a low hum of burnout that never fully lifts, even on vacation, even on weekends, because some part of you never really clocks out. You care, far more than you'd ever admit out loud, what strangers on a screen think of a version of you they've never actually met. None of this makes you weak. It makes you exactly like almost everyone else living inside a culture engineered, quite literally, to keep your nervous system slightly on edge at all times. But it also means you are trying to practice ancient calm inside one of the most anxiety-optimized environments human beings have ever built. No wonder it isn't working the way it used to. The Stoics had a phrase for this, centuries before it got a catchy Latin name. They called it living in agreement with nature. Later thinkers sharpened it into 2 words that now echo across stages and psychology textbooks: amor fati, the love of fate, not the tolerance of fate. Not the gritted teeth acceptance of fate, the love of it, loving the broken leg, loving the missed promotion, loving the diagnosis, the betrayal, the failure, the loss. Not because these things are good in themselves, but because they are yours, and because fighting what has already happened has never once, in the entire history of the human species, changed the outcome. It has only added a second layer of suffering on top of the first. And here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. None of what's coming in this video requires better circumstances than the ones you currently have. It doesn't require more money, a different job, a different partner, a cleaner slate, or a fresh start on January 1st. Epictetus built the entire framework you're about to learn while enslaved, with a leg that never worked right again, in a body he did not choose and could not leave. If the method worked there, in conditions worse than almost anything you will ever face, then the excuse that your circumstances are the reason you can't apply it quietly falls apart the second you're honest about it. Right now, somewhere in your life, there is a wound you keep touching, a decision you keep replaying at 2 a.m., a person you keep resenting long after they've stopped thinking about you at all. A version of your past you keep quietly begging the universe to rewrite. And every day you spend at war with what already happened is a day you hand over, for free, to something that cannot be undone. This video is going to walk you through 10 Stoic laws that, stacked together, build what the ancients called an inner citadel. a part of your mind that nothing external can ever break into. Not your boss, not your ex, not your diagnosis, not your bank balance, nothing. This isn't going to be another video telling you to just think positive or to manifest your way out of a hard year. Positive thinking, on its own, has never survived contact with a real crisis. What you're about to learn survived actual slavery, actual plague, actual war, and the actual death of an empire. It has earned the right to be taken seriously in a way a fridge magnet quote never will. Let's be brutally honest before we start. This is not going to feel good the entire way through. Some of these laws are going to challenge things you've believed about yourself for years. Some of them are going to ask you to stop blaming people who genuinely wronged you. Most people who click on a video like this hear the first law, feel a small spark of interest, and quietly close the tab the moment it stops being comfortable. If that's you, that's fine. Nobody will know. You'll just go on being ruled by things you never chose and can't control. But if you make it to law number 10, the one that ties every other law together, you're going to understand something about your own mind that most people go their entire lives without discovering. So if you're serious about this, type yes in the comments right now. Not for me. For the version of you that is tired of being at war with their own life. One clarification before we go further, because the word unbreakable gets misused constantly. This is not about becoming numb, cold, or emotionally unavailable. Numbness is not strength, it's just suffering with the volume turned down, and it always finds a way to leak out somewhere else eventually. Real unbreakability, the Stoic kind, feels everything fully. The grief, the anger, the fear, and simply refuses to let any of it make the final decision about how you act. Feeling and reacting were never the same thing, no matter how much they get treated like they are. Let's begin. Law 1. The law of the broken leg. Here's the common flaw. You wake up, everything is fine, and then one small thing goes wrong. The Wi-Fi cuts out during a call, a coworker sends a cold email, traffic adds 20 minutes to your commute, and your entire emotional state collapses for the rest of the day. Not because the event was catastrophic, because you were never prepared for it to happen at all. The Stoics had a practice for this called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. Every morning, before anything went wrong, they deliberately imagined what could go wrong. Not to be pessimistic, to be unshakeable. Seneca used to say that nothing happens to the wise man that he has not already rehearsed in his mind. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire during plague and war, reminded himself before sunrise that today he would meet liars, ungrateful people, and fools, and that expecting this in advance meant none of it could catch him off guard. Think about it like a soldier and a sailor. A soldier who has only ever trained on a calm parade ground will freeze the first time real chaos breaks out. A sailor who has spent years training in storms, deliberately, on purpose, in a safe harbor. That sailor doesn't panic when the real storm hits. He's already met this exact moment 100 times in his own mind. The event doesn't shock him because he already rehearsed the reaction. Most people today live like that untrained soldier. They treat comfort as the default setting of life and mistake any deviation from comfort as an emergency. That's the real reason a single rude text can ruin your entire afternoon. It's not the text. It's that you had quietly assumed the day owed you a smooth ride, and reality just reminded you that it never made that promise. Epictetus, the same man whose leg was broken without complaint, taught his students to greet hardship the way you'd greet an expected guest, not an intruder. When you expect the door to knock, the knock doesn't scare you. This is the exact epidemic quietly sitting underneath modern burnout. You didn't burn out because your job suddenly got harder overnight. You burned out because you never built in a single moment of expected friction. You expected every notification to be good news, every meeting to run on time, every plan to unfold exactly as scheduled, and reality has been gently punishing that assumption for years, one unread email at a time. The people who look unshakable under real pressure aren't the ones who were lucky enough to avoid hard mornings. They're the ones who simply stopped being surprised by them. The same way a lifeguard isn't surprised by a drowning swimmer, because they trained for that exact moment before it ever happened. Here's your actionable pivot. Tonight or tomorrow morning, take 90 seconds and ask yourself one brutal question. What is likely to go wrong today? And am I willing to meet it without falling apart? Not to manifest bad luck, to disarm it. Because the version of you who has already rehearsed the storm in his own mind is the only version who can walk through the real one without drowning. This costs nothing. No subscription, no app, no 45-minute morning routine to buy into. Just 90 honest seconds before your feet hit the floor, meeting the day as it's likely to actually be, instead of the smoothed-over version you were quietly hoping for. Do this enough mornings in a row, and something strange happens. The bad days stop feeling like personal attacks and start feeling like weather. You still walk through the rain, you just stop being shocked that it's raining. Law 2. The law of the rented house. Let me ask you something. How much of your peace of mind right now is quietly depending on things you don't actually own? Epictetus taught his students to think of life as a rented house, or better, as a play in which you did not write the script and did not cast yourself in the lead role. Your body, your job, your possessions, even the people you love most, none of it was ever truly yours. It was lent to you for an unknown amount of time by forces completely outside your control. And the moment you forget it's a loan and start treating it like a permanent possession is the exact moment losing it becomes unbearable. This is the flaw hiding underneath almost every modern anxiety. You don't just want the relationship, you need it to survive, so its uncertainty terrifies you. You don't just enjoy the job title, you've built your identity on top of it, so the thought of losing it feels like losing yourself. You've quietly signed a mental deed of ownership on things the universe only ever agreed to lease you. Picture a traveler who checks into a different hotel room every night of a long trip. If he treats every room like his childhood bedroom, rearranging the furniture, painting the walls in his mind, expecting to keep it forever, he will be devastated every single morning when he has to check out. But a traveler who understands he's only passing through can still enjoy the room fully, even love the view from the window, precisely because he's not gripping it. He holds it with open hands instead of a clenched fist, and somehow that's what lets him enjoy it more, not less. This is not a call to stop loving people or stop caring about your work. It's the opposite. Grip is what kills love, not distance. The parent who understands their child was never truly theirs to control loves more freely than the parent who is quietly terrified of losing ownership over who that child becomes. Look at how many people today have quietly fused their entire identity with their job title, their follow account, or their relationship status, so that a layoff doesn't just cost them an income, it costs them the answer to, who am I? That's not strength, and it was never meant to be the deal. The Stoics would say, you were never renting a title. You were renting a chance to do good work for a while, in a body that was never yours to keep either, on a planet you were only ever passing through. So here's the pivot. Pick one thing in your life right now that you are gripping, a relationship, a job, a plan for how your life is supposed to look, and just once, quietly say to yourself, this was always on loan, not to love it less, to finally hold it the way it was always meant to be held, with hands open enough that losing it wouldn't break you, and full enough that keeping it still means everything. Notice something important here. Renters who know they're renters still take care of the house. They still mow the lawn, fix the leaks, treat it with respect. Knowing something isn't permanently yours has never been an excuse to neglect it. It's the thing that lets you love it without the quiet dread of eventually losing it hanging over every single day you get to spend inside it. Law 3. The law of the unlocked door. Epictetus left behind one idea so sharp it has survived 2,000 years without losing its edge. People are not disturbed by events. They are disturbed by the judgments they form about those events. Sit with that for a second, because it sounds simple, and it is not. The event itself, the layoff, the diagnosis, the silence from someone you love, is neutral. It is your mind that adds the story on top of it. This ruins everything. This means I'm not enough. This will never get better. And it's the story, not the event, that keeps you up at night. Here's the common flaw almost everyone falls into. You outsource your peace of mind to whatever happens outside you. Traffic decides your mood. A text left on read decides your self-worth. A stranger's opinion online decides how you feel about your entire life. You've handed the keys to your own emotional state to people who don't even know they're holding them. Picture yourself locked in a room, banging on the door, begging whoever is on the other side to let you out, while the key has been sitting in your own pocket the entire time. That's what most emotional suffering looks like from the outside. You are not actually trapped by the event. You are trapped by a story about the event, and the story was written by you, which means it can be rewritten by you too. This doesn't mean pretending bad things are good. It means separating the fact from the interpretation before the interpretation runs off and ruins your whole week. Someone cancels plans. Fact, the plans are cancelled. Story, your mind wants to add for free. They don't value me. One of those is true. The other is a decision, not a discovery. Think about how much of your average day is spent doing exactly this with a screen in your hand. A message left on read for 4 hours becomes a verdict on the entire relationship. A flat tone in a boss's email becomes proof you're about to be fired. A stranger's opinion in a comment section becomes evidence about your worth as a person. None of those are facts. All of them are stories, typed up by your own mind at record speed, and then reacted to as if they were breaking news. So here's your pivot. The next time something knocks you off balance, pause for 3 seconds and ask exactly one question. Is this the event, or is this my story about the event? You don't have to solve it in that moment. You just have to notice the door was never locked. That single second of noticing is often the difference between a bad 5 minutes and a ruined week. Let me ask you something directly. How many genuinely bad days in your life were actually caused by the event itself? And how many were caused by the 3 hours you spent afterward, alone with your own interpretation of it, turning it over and over until it had grown claws it never actually had? Be honest. For most people, most of the time, it's not close. Law 4. The law of the inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth while war tore at its borders. Plague swept through his own household, and men he trusted plotted against him. And every single morning, before facing any of it, he retreated into a place no army, no disease, and no betrayal could ever occupy, his own mind. He called it, in his private writings never meant for anyone else's eyes, a retreat more peaceful than any villa or seaside estate. Not because his mind was always calm, because he had built it, deliberately, brick by brick, into a fortress that outside events were simply not allowed to enter uninvited. Here is the flaw almost everyone builds their sense of safety on, without realizing it. They construct their inner peace on a floodplain, a job, a relationship, a reputation, a bank balance, all of it sitting directly in the path of forces they cannot control. And then they're shocked when the flood eventually comes, because floodplains, by definition, flood. The Stoics built somewhere else entirely. Not a castle on a floodplain, but a citadel carved into solid rock, sitting at the center of the one territory that can never be invaded from outside. Your own reasoning mind. Your job can be taken. Your relationships can end. Your health can fail. But your judgment, your will, your choice of how to respond, those never leave your hands unless you hand them over yourself. This is not about becoming cold or withdrawn from the world. It's about knowing exactly which parts of your life are the floodplain and which part is the rock, so that when the floodplain floods, and it eventually will, for every single person alive, you don't lose the only thing that was ever actually yours to lose. Most people alive right now have never once sat in genuine silence without reaching for a phone within 90 seconds. That's not a character flaw, it's a symptom, a citadel so unfamiliar and understaffed that the moment it goes quiet, it feels unbearable. so we fill it instantly with notifications, likes, and other people's opinions of us. But a mind that can't tolerate its own silence for 2 minutes was never going to survive a real crisis. Building the citadel starts with something as small as sitting in silence on purpose, long enough that it stops feeling like an emergency. Here's your pivot. Once a day, for 5 minutes, retreat fully into that inner citadel. Not scrolling, not distraction, actual retreat. Ask yourself plainly, what today belongs to me, and what today never did. Your effort belongs to you. Other people's reactions never did. Your integrity belongs to you. The outcome never did. The more precisely you can draw that line, the harder it becomes for anything outside you to ever really touch what's inside. Think about it this way. An emperor who ruled nearly the entire known world still needed a private fortress no one else could enter. If Marcus Aurelius, with legions at his command, still needed this daily retreat, the idea that you're too busy to spare 5 quiet minutes for the only territory you'll ever fully own doesn't hold up under a second look. Law 5. The law of the chosen wound. There's a difference between surviving your life and loving it, and almost nobody is taught where that line sits. Endurance grits its teeth and waits for the pain to end. It says, "I'll get through this." It treats hardship as an enemy to be outlasted. And it works. Technically, endurance does get you to the other side. But it leaves you exhausted, resentful, and secretly furious at a universe you feel has wronged you. Amor fati is something entirely different. It doesn't wait for the pain to end. It doesn't even ask the pain to be smaller. It asks a far stranger question. What if I chose this? Not because you actually caused it, because the moment you stop asking why is this happening to me and start asking what would I do if I had chosen this on purpose, something in your nervous system shifts. You go from prisoner to author. Picture 2 men caught in the exact same storm, on the exact same road. One shakes his fist at the sky, curses the rain, exhausts himself fighting weather that was never going to listen to him. The other turns his face up, lets it soak him completely, and keeps walking. Same storm, same soaked clothes, completely different amount of suffering, because one of them spent his energy resisting what he could not change, and the other spent his energy simply moving through it. This is the heart of amor fati, and it is the hardest law in this entire video, so don't expect to master it by the end of one sentence. It is not resignation. Resignation is grey and lifeless. It says, fine, whatever, I give up. Amor fati is the opposite of giving up. It is an active, almost defiant embrace. This happened, and I refuse to let it happen to me passively. I will make it mine. There's a quiet trap in modern life that looks like healing, but is often the opposite, turning your pain into a permanent identity instead of a chapter you're moving through. Telling the story of what happened to you once, to process it, is healthy. Telling it on a loop, to anyone who'll listen, as the main character trait of who you are, keeps the wound open on purpose, because some part of you has gotten used to the attention and sympathy it earns. Amor fati asks something much harder than sympathy. It asks you to take the wound back from the story and turn it into fuel instead of an identity. Here's your pivot, and it will feel strange the first time you try it. Take the hardest thing currently sitting in your life, the thing you keep resenting, keep replaying, keep wishing away, and just once, silently say to it, I choose this. Not because you're pretending it doesn't hurt, because the moment you stop fighting a fact that has already happened, all the energy you were spending on resistance becomes available for something else, for building, for moving, for becoming exactly what this wound was training you to become. This is not a one-time trick that fixes everything the first time you try it. Some wounds you will need to choose again and again, on different days, in different moods, sometimes several times in the same afternoon. That's not failure. That's what training actually looks like. Nobody masters an inner citadel or an unbroken will in a single sitting. They earn it the same way Epictetus earned his, one repetition at a time, across years, not minutes. Law 6. The law of the bent bow. Marcus Aurelius wrote himself a reminder that has outlived his entire empire. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Here's the common flaw. Most people treat every obstacle as pure threat, something to avoid, something that's ruining the plan, something standing between them and the life they actually wanted. So they shrink. They avoid the hard conversation, the hard project, the hard year, because friction feels like proof that something has gone wrong. But think about a bow for a second. A bowstring that is never pulled back, that stays comfortable and slack at all times, can never fire an arrow anywhere. It's not the absence of tension that lets the archer hit the target. It's the tension itself, the bend in the wood, the tightness in the string, that's not the enemy of the shot. That is the shot. Without resistance, there is no distance. Every obstacle in your life right now is doing to you exactly what the archer's pull does to the bow. It's not there to stop you, it's there to load you. The project that's falling apart is teaching you to rebuild under pressure. The relationship that ended badly is teaching you what you'll no longer tolerate. The year that knocked you flat is loading a bow that hasn't been fired yet. This doesn't mean you should go looking for suffering. And it doesn't mean every obstacle is secretly a gift wrapped in ugly paper. Some of it is simply hard, and it's allowed to just be hard. But the question that changes everything is not how do I remove this obstacle as fast as possible. It's what is this obstacle currently training in me, whether I asked for the lesson or not. Look at how much of modern life is quietly engineered around avoiding tension altogether. Skip the hard conversation and send a text instead. Avoid the uncomfortable feedback and just disengage from the project instead. Comfort has been marketed to us as the finish line, when the Stoics would have told us comfort is closer to a slack, unfired bow, safe, painless, and going absolutely nowhere. Growth was never on the other side of comfort. It was only ever on the other side of the pull. Notice how almost every person you admire, in any field, describes their hardest season as the one that actually made them. Nobody points to the easy year as the one that built their character. That's not a coincidence. And it's not just a nice story people tell afterward to make the pain feel worth it. Tension is genuinely the mechanism. Muscle tears under load and rebuilds stronger. Wood bends under pressure and holds its new shape. There is no version of strength, in nature or in a human life, that was ever built by the absence of resistance. Here's your pivot. Name the single biggest obstacle sitting in your life right now, out loud if you can. And instead of asking, how do I get rid of this? Ask one different question. If this were deliberately designed to build something specific in me, what would that something be? You don't have to believe fate designed it on purpose. You only have to act, for the next 24 hours, as if the tension had a point. If you're still here, I want you to do something. Drop the one obstacle you just named in the comments below, the wall you've been treating as a wall instead of a bow. I actually read these, and half of what makes this channel worth anything is seeing what you're carrying. Good. Now that it's named, let's talk about what happens after you pull the bow. Because loading the tension is only half the equation. The other half is what you do with your grip once the arrow is actually in the air. Law 7. The law of the empty hands. Epictetus taught a principle so practical that archers of his era already lived by it, without realizing they were doing philosophy. An archer, he said, should aim as carefully and skillfully as humanly possible, but the instant the arrow leaves the bow, its flight belongs to the wind, not to him. Here's the flaw. Most people grip outcomes the way a drowning man grips a rope. The promotion, the relationship going a certain way, the number on the scale, the way a specific conversation is supposed to end. And the tighter they grip the outcome, the more devastating it feels when reality decides something different. Picture a man on a beach, holding a fistful of dry sand as tightly as he can. The tighter his fist closes, the faster the sand pours out between his fingers. But an open palm, held flat and steady, keeps far more sand simply by not fighting gravity. Grip is not strength. Grip is what guarantees the loss. This is not an excuse for laziness. The Stoics were relentless about effort, full preparation, full skill, full attention to everything within your control. What they refused to do was extend that same white-knuckled grip to the part that was never theirs to control in the first place. How it turns out, you control the aim, you do not control the wind. Modern hustle culture has quietly convinced an entire generation that the outcome is the only thing that counts. The follower number, the revenue figure, the promotion, the view count on the exact video you're watching right now. So effort with no guaranteed result starts to feel pointless, even humiliating, and people quietly stop trying rather than risk trying fully and still losing. The Stoics would call that entire framework backwards. The aim was always the only thing that ever belonged to you. The wind was never yours to be ashamed of. Think about how much needless suffering comes from confusing those two categories. You did everything right in an interview and didn't get the job, and you punish yourself as if the outcome was yours to control, when the outcome was always the wind's decision, not the archer's. You loved someone fully, and they still left, and you replay it, looking for the one thing you could have gripped tighter, when grip was never what was missing. Here's your pivot. Before you begin anything that matters to you today, say this quietly to yourself: I will give this everything that belongs to me, and I release everything that never did. Full effort, empty hands, not because the outcome doesn't matter to you, because your peace can no longer be hostage to something that was never yours to hold. Think about it. Some of the most respected competitors, performers, and craftsmen in history describe the exact same feeling in the moment right before the result lands. A strange, almost eerie calm, because they already know they gave everything that was theirs to give. The nerves belong to the people still gripping the outcome. The calm belongs to the ones who released it the instant their part of the job was finished. Law 8. The law of the gladiator's calm. Roman gladiators, before stepping into the arena, would salute the emperor with a phrase that sounds bleak out of context and turns out to be one of the calmest sentences ever spoken. We who are about to die salute you. Here's the flaw hiding underneath modern anxiety that almost nobody names directly. Most people live as though they have infinite time, which sounds comforting but actually makes them more anxious, not less, because when death feels distant and abstract, every small thing gets promoted to the level of an emergency. A cancelled plan feels devastating. An awkward text feels catastrophic. Nothing has been measured against the one true deadline, so everything expands to fill the space where real perspective should be. The Stoics practiced the opposite. They called it memento mori, remember you will die, and they didn't treat it as morbid, they treated it as clarifying. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly that he could leave this life right now, and let that thought shape how he chose to act, not with panic, but with an almost eerie calm. If you truly accept the ending is coming, and coming for everyone without exception, the smaller endings, the awkward conversation, the rejection, the bad week, lose most of their power to terrify you. That's the strange secret behind the gladiator's calm. It was never that they didn't value being alive, it's that they had already made peace with life's ending, which meant nothing smaller than the ending could hold them hostage anymore. A man who has already faced the biggest fear does not flinch at the smaller ones standing in line behind it. Modern culture has gone in the exact opposite direction, spending entire industries trying to help people avoid ever thinking about mortality at all. Anti-aging routines, endless distraction, a quiet cultural agreement to never bring it up at dinner. But avoidance doesn't remove the fear. It just leaves it running quietly in the background of every decision, which is precisely why so many people are terrified of things that are nowhere near as final as death. An awkward silence, a bad review, a single failed attempt. The Stoics weren't obsessed with dying. They were obsessed with finally being free of the fear of it. Here's your pivot, and I want you to actually do this, not just listen to it. Ask yourself plainly, if this were my last year, would this grudge still deserve my attention? Would this argument, would this fear of what a stranger online thinks of me? For almost everyone, almost every time, the honest answer is no. And that answer is not meant to depress you. It's meant to hand you back the hours you've been giving away to things that were never going to matter in the end anyway. Seneca put it plainly to a friend once, in a letter meant for no one but him. We are always complaining that our days are few, while acting as though they will be endless. That gap between how little time we actually have and how carelessly we spend it is where almost all of modern anxiety quietly lives. Law 9, the law of the silent vow. Cato the Younger spent his entire political life defending a Rome he knew, deep down, he might never live to see saved. He lost battle after battle. He watched the republic he believed in crumble in front of him, piece by piece, year after year. And he never once compromised the principles he held, even when compromise would have kept him alive, powerful, and comfortable. Here's the flaw almost everyone falls into without noticing. People quietly believe their strength depends on winning, on being validated, being proven right, on other people agreeing with them. So the moment they lose, or get overruled, or watch their side of history fail, their entire sense of self collapses along with it. Picture a lighthouse standing on a rocky coast. Its entire purpose is to stay exactly where it is, fixed, unmoving, while ships pass by in every direction, some heading towards safety, and some heading straight for the rocks. If the lighthouse tried to chase every ship, adjusting its position to please whichever captain was currently passing, it would guide no one, ever. Its value comes entirely from the fact that it doesn't move. This is what real integrity actually looks like, and it has almost nothing to do with being right. It means you have decided, in advance, on a handful of things you will not compromise. Honesty, showing up for people, refusing to betray someone for convenience, and you hold that ground regardless of whether the world around you agrees, rewards you, or even notices. You can lose the argument, lose the job, lose the relationship, lose the outcome entirely, and still walk away with the one thing that was never on the table to begin with: who you decided to be. We live inside a culture that rewards the exact opposite instinct, quietly adjusting your stated opinion depending on which room you're standing in, softening your actual position the moment it might cost you approval online. It feels safer in the short term. It is devastating in the long term, because a person who bends their principles to whatever crowd is currently watching never actually gets to find out who they are underneath all that adjusting. The lighthouse that keeps moving to please every passing ship eventually forgets it was ever built to stand still. Here's your pivot. Name one non-negotiable principle for yourself right now. Not 10. 1. Something you will hold regardless of outcome. Then, the next time keeping it costs you something, and it will, treat that cost as proof the principle was real, not as evidence you should have folded. Cato eventually lost everything he spent his life defending. Rome fell to exactly the kind of one-man rule he'd fought against for decades. By any outside measure, his life reads like a failure. And yet centuries later, his name is still remembered as the standard for unbending integrity, while most of the men who compromised to stay comfortable and in power are barely remembered at all. Outcomes fade. What you refuse to trade away tends to outlast everything else. Law 10, the law of fated ground. Let's go back to where we started. Epictetus, leg broken, master standing over him, said nothing but "You are going to break it," and then, when it happened, simply nodded. Later in his life, students asked him, in different ways, whether he regretted the years of slavery, the injury, the suffering that built the man sitting in front of them, and by every account that survives, his answer was some version of the same thing: no. Because that exact life, broken leg and all, was the only path that led to becoming who he had become. Given the choice again, knowing everything, he would not trade it for an easier road that led somewhere lesser. That is a more fatty completed, not gritting your teeth through fate, not merely tolerating it, actively, deliberately choosing to love the entire shape of your life, including the parts you never would have picked, because that shape is the only one that could have built exactly what's sitting inside you right now. Here's what all 9 previous laws were quietly building toward. Expect hardship, so it can't shock you. Hold what you love loosely, so losing it can't destroy you. Separate the event from the story, so the world can't dictate your peace. Retreat into the citadel, so nothing external can invade what's actually yours. Choose your wounds instead of merely surviving them. Let the bend in the bow become the shot instead of the obstacle. Give full effort and release the outcome. Make peace with the ending, so nothing smaller can terrify you. Hold your ground like a lighthouse, regardless of who's currently sailing by. Stack all 9 together, and you arrive at the 10th, a mind that has nothing left to lose because it has already, on purpose, chosen everything that happened to it, not as good as yours, as necessary. As the exact price of becoming the person now capable of hearing this sentence and understanding it. There is an entire industry built around convincing you that your current story is a rough draft, that the real version of you is one more course, one more reinvention, one more glow-up away, always just out of reach. That framework keeps you perpetually unfinished and perpetually spending. Amor Fati refuses that framework completely. It says the version of you sitting here right now, built out of every chapter you've lived so far, including the ones you'd erase if you could, is not a rough draft waiting to be fixed. It is already, this second, the only foundation that ever existed to build anything on top of. Here's your final pivot, and it's less a technique than a decision. Today, act as though you had already chosen your entire life, exactly as it happened, on purpose, in advance. Not because you actually could have chosen it, because the moment you carry yourself as someone who did, the grip that fate used to have on you quietly changes hands. It stops being something that happens to you. It becomes something you're in conversation with. This is the actual finish line of everything we've covered today. Not a life with no hardship in it. That life doesn't exist for anyone, no matter how it looks from the outside. A life where hardship has stopped having veto power over your peace. Where the broken leg, whatever shape it takes in your own story, becomes part of the account of how you got here, instead of the reason you never arrived. The close. Think back to the wound you were touching at the very start of this video. The decision you keep replaying, the person you keep resenting, the version of your past you keep quietly asking the universe to undo. It's still there. This video didn't erase it, and no video ever could. But somewhere in the last hour, a different question arrived next to it. Not why did this happen to me, but what if I chose this, and what is it building in me right now, today, whether I asked for it or not? You don't have to answer that question tonight. You just have to stop running from it. Somewhere, right now, someone is reading a diagnosis they didn't ask for, standing in an empty apartment they didn't expect to be standing in, holding a version of their year that looks nothing like the one they planned. And some of them will spend the next decade fighting that fact with everything they have, exhausting themselves against something that has already happened and cannot be made to unhappen. And a few of them, a rare few, will do something else entirely. They'll stop asking the universe to take it back, and they'll start asking what it's for. None of the 10 laws in this video will remove a single hard thing from your life. That was never what they were for. What they do, if you actually practice them instead of just watching them once and moving on, is take away hardship's power to decide who you become in response to it. The event stays exactly the same size. You simply stop being small in front of it. If even one of these 10 laws landed somewhere real today, tell me which one in the comments below, not to prove you watched, but because the version of you 6 months from now, still fighting the same wound, might scroll back through this comment section looking for exactly what you're about to write. And if you want the next 10 laws that build on top of these, you already know where to find them. Epictetus limped for the rest of his life. He never once described himself as broken.